I just returned from the market, still carrying the groceries I just bought. From a distance, I saw more than a dozen luxury cars parked at the entrance of the He family's old residence. As I reached the He family's doorstep, I could hear the loud chatter coming from inside. It's been 3 years, I wonder what that young lady has become. Has she turned into a village girl? She's nothing but a young lady in name, she's just an orphan staying at the He family's house, yet she thinks of herself as a true heiress. Indeed, she has no blood relation to the He family at all, it is the He family's kindness, otherwise she would be worse off than a beggar. Christina was young and naive at the time. I believe that after these 3 years, she must have realized her mistakes. A gentle female voice interrupted the unpleasant remarks, bringing a moment of silence to the courtyard. That voice sounds familiar, it's Emily's. She is also Connor's first love, held tenderly in his palms. 3 years ago, after her father passed away in a car accident, she was taken in by the He family, while I was sent to the countryside. When he was sent away, he said, "Emily has already lost her family, and you still speak so viciously. She has been so good to you all this time, do you even have a conscience? When you learn to be good and sensible, that's when I'll let you come back. Otherwise, you'll stay there for a lifetime. I am doing this for your own good. If you don't change your temperament, you can forget about ever becoming my wife." For my own good? That's quite a nice thing to say. For my own good, is it still necessary to favor Emily in such circumstances? Just to throw me out to the countryside and ignore me? He clearly knew that by that time, my emotions were on the verge of collapse. Now hearing this, I can only feel the irony. It was also kind of Emily not to hold it against her. If it were me, I would definitely make her stay in for a few years. Emily said softly, "Christina is still considered part of the He family." After saying this, her eyes turned slightly red. "Emily, don't be sad. That fool has already been punished. What do you think her expression will be when she sees us later?" Needless to say, they would definitely be wailing and crying, then kneeling and begging to go back with you. Connor snorted coldly, "It's been 3 years, even a dog should have learned to behave by now. If not, then continue to be reformed here." A chorus of agreement arose around. "Well, I actually look forward to her not having learned her lesson, that way I can avoid seeing her for the rest of my life. Yes, her shameless appearance makes me feel disgusted just looking at her. But I remember you seem to have a marriage contract, right?" A voice spoke up, tinged with a hint of doubt. Emily, upon hearing this, turned her head towards Connor, her eyes filled with anticipation. "Engagement, let's see how she performs." Emily turned her gaze away, feeling somewhat disappointed after hearing Connor's words. Hearing this, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. There was no attempt to hide my laughter. The sound was carried into the small courtyard by the rising gentle breeze, startling a group of little turtles inside. The person closest to the door turned to look at me, surprised and puzzled, and shouted, "Christina?" His shout drew the attention of everyone in the small courtyard. "Is she really Christina? How is that possible? Wasn't she supposed to become a village girl?" I listened to their discussion and understood why they were so shocked. In their imagination, I had been thrown into the countryside for 3 years, and I must have turned into a rustic, haggard village girl by now. Instead of being like I am now. A well-fitted lawn dress, paired with a thin knitted sweater, with a camera hanging around her neck. Her hair and face were well maintained, and she even had nude-colored nails. She looked nothing like a country girl. Connor's gaze slowly fell on me, a bit surprised. "Christina." He called my name, his tone distant, completely different from how he spoke to Emily. In my memory, I have also been dissatisfied with this, and have cried and made a fuss. But now, it won't. "Mr. Connor." I switched the basket of vegetables to the other hand and greeted him politely. Hearing my words, Connor frowned slightly. "It's only been 3 years, is it really necessary to be so distant? I am your fiancé, and this is how you speak to me?" It seems the time has been too short, you still haven't learned to behave. If you keep this up, I will really break off our engagement. I glanced at him lightly. What gave him the idea that after 3 years, I would still like him? At the age of 10, I became an orphan. Grandpa, he took me to the He family and announced my engagement to Connor on the spot. From that moment on, I knew I would marry Connor. So, in his tenderness, I gradually allowed myself to fall in love with him. At the height of our feelings, he once said he loved me. He also said that when I reached the right age for marriage, he would marry me. Until Emily was taken to the He family, everything changed. I watched as my beloved affection was slowly taken away, seeing his unconditional bias. I cried, I made a scene, and even deliberately picked fights with Emily. But without exception, all I received in return were accusations and anger. Later, Emily's necklace went missing. Connor immediately came to find me and questioned me. Although I don't like Emily, I haven't sunk so low as to steal someone else's things. Moreover, during that time, my little cat, whom I had raised for 8 years, was sick and hospitalized. That cat was given to me by Connor on my birthday. To take care of it, I rented a place near the pet hospital, and I haven't been back to the He family for a long time. I confronted Connor with my head held high. Little did I expect that her necklace would be found in a piece of clothing I hadn't worn in a long time. Connor hit me and broke the only keepsake my parents left me. Seeing the bracelet shattered into several pieces on the ground, I rushed towards Connor like a madman. In the chaos, Emily fell down the stairs. Later on, I was sent to the countryside by Connor. And my little cat did not survive that summer. Seeing that I wasn't speaking, Connor's expression became somewhat impatient. Just as he was about to explode, I raised the ring on my hand. I'm sorry, Mr. Connor. I'm already married. Upon hearing this, Connor's brows furrowed even tighter. Emily stepped forward and linked her arm with Connor's, looking at me with the gaze of someone watching a child throw a tantrum. Christina, you must not lie. I heard Connor say that he stopped your bank card, so these clothes of yours. You're young, so don't let those shady people deceive you. As soon as she said this, Connor finally shifted his gaze to my outfit, and his expression gradually turned colder. Perhaps he was reminded of how he had cut off all my financial sources. In their eyes, without the He family's money, I didn't deserve to wear such fine clothes. His friends all looked at me with mocking gazes, one by one. Someone spoke up, Christina, you haven't been kept by someone, have you? In this remote countryside, the person who keeps you won't be one of those old men in the village who can't find a wife, right? Connor's expression instantly darkened, his face filled with anger as he looked at me. Christina, do you have no shame at all? It's fine if you have no shame, but don't tarnish the reputation of the He family. Seeing him like this, it was clear he thought I had willingly fallen into depravity, becoming someone else's mistress. But, Connor, how many years have we known each other? Even if you don't like me, you should at least know what kind of person I am. Do you really see me as the kind of person who would become a mistress for money? I looked around the room and coldly said, I still want to ask you if you have any shame. Did you come all this way just to go crazy? I, Christina, am not like you useless people. I don't rely on men, I don't rely on the He family, and I can still live very well. Connor probably didn't expect me to refute him, and he was taken aback for a moment. He let out a cold laugh, without relying on the He family, just you. Christina, don't overestimate yourself. I know what you're thinking, you just want to attract my attention. Hearing this, I couldn't help but laugh in anger. This person seems to not understand human language at all. Attract his attention? Does he deserve that? I grabbed the eggs from the basket and threw them over. Connor was caught off guard and got a face full of egg. Ah, Connor! Emily exclaimed in surprise upon seeing this. Connor closed his eyes, raised his hand to wipe off the egg mixture, and then raised his hand towards me. I quickly stepped back and coldly snorted, What, do you want to hit me again? Connor paused for a moment, took a deep breath and said, Christina, you're doing great. Since that's the case, why don't you just stay here for a lifetime? Having said that, he strode away. The protagonist left, and those little onlookers who had come to watch the excitement naturally followed suit. Emily walked at the back. When she reached my side, she whispered, Christina, thank you. If it weren't for you, Connor wouldn't see my worth. I didn't respond. The things you flaunt are exactly the trash I had long discarded. If you enjoy picking up garbage, then go ahead and take it. After the others left, I carried the groceries and walked towards the house across from the He family. Inside the house, the man was having a conference call. When he saw me come in, he muted the call and smiled as he took the basket of vegetables from my hands. I told you to wait for me to finish before we go together, aren't you tired? I shook my head and followed him into the kitchen. I buy the groceries and take some footage, you cook. It's very fair. The man suddenly stopped, and I, caught off guard, bumped straight into him. He turned around, bent down, and pinched my nose. I just heard a commotion outside. Is something happening? Thinking about what just happened, I curled my lip. Connor came and said he was here to take me back, but I gave him a lesson. Hearing this, the man frowned. It's good to teach Connor a lesson, so he knows the difference between right and wrong. I looked at him, raising an eyebrow. Is that it? He smiled slightly and suddenly picked me up around the waist, carrying me toward the bedroom. I know all about your past with him. Although I feel a bit jealous, what matters most is that you are here with me now. As he spoke, his lips were already drawing closer. His kiss, fervent as fire, melted me little by little, making it impossible for me to resist being entranced by it. I saw Connor again a month later. Jessica's engagement party. She is my best friend, and this time she specially ran to the countryside to invite me to her engagement. Unable to resist her coaxing, I reluctantly agreed to her. Seeing Connor and Emily again was within my expectations. As soon as Jessica saw them, she pulled me behind her like a mother hen protecting her chicks, leaving Pierce to greet them. Pierce is her fiancé and also a friend of Connor. And she pulled me to the corner. Christina, I'm sorry, I forgot they would come too. I smiled and shook my head. I had been at the He family for so many years, and many of our circles overlapped. They will come, and that's normal. It's okay, I haven't cared about it for a long time. I comforted, after all, I am already married. Jessica was taken aback, looking at me in disbelief. You got married? When did this happen? How come I didn't know? Half a year ago. Jessica stared at me for a long time, then suddenly burst into laughter. Dead girl, I knew it. With someone as good as you, how could you possibly hang yourself from a crooked tree like Connor? That's more like it. We don't care about someone like Connor. Smiling and smiling, she suddenly had tears in her eyes. I knew she was happy for me. When Emily first appeared, she kept persuading me. But I couldn't let it go in my heart. I was determined to hit the wall head-on. Now, I have let it go. After crying, she glared at me and said, then why didn't you bring him to show me? Or do you not consider me a good sister? He is on a business trip. I smiled apologetically, he won't be back until tonight. Next time, I'll bring him along to treat you to dinner. Jessica nodded in satisfaction. Suddenly, she took my hand and walked to the center of the crowd, picking up the microphone and drawing everyone's attention. She said with a bright smile, everyone, today I have some good news to announce. She pulled me close and introduced me solemnly. This is my good friend, Christina. She is married. Let's all congratulate her. As the words fell, the scene fell silent. The people who will come to this engagement party are basically all from this circle. Many people know that the fiancé of the He family's eldest son, Connor, is named Christina. But they haven't heard about Connor getting married. Jessica, who loved to stir the pot, looked around and asked with a smile, what's wrong? My best friend is getting married, aren't you happy? Everyone came to their senses and laughed in agreement. How could they not be happy? Happy, happy. Congratulations, congratulations, may you have a harmonious union for 100 years, and may you have children soon. Amidst the blessings of the crowd, I kept smiling and nodding gently. Emily walked up to me at that moment. She held a wine glass and looked at me with a worried expression. Christina, you've been living in the countryside for the past 2 years. Now suddenly getting married, have you been deceived by those bad people in the countryside? I know you're still angry about Connor sending you to the countryside, but he did it for your own good. You are young, but you must not act impulsively out of anger. Marriage is a significant matter, and you must be cautious. Emily, are you meddling too much? Even if I marry a pig, it's none of your business. I couldn't help but interrupt her. I really hate her. Clearly, she doesn't like me, yet she always pretends to care about me. She was like this when we were at the He family's place too. Then, I slowly became a person that the He family did not like. As for her, she became the one who was understood by everyone. Having seen this trick too many times, I found it boring. Interrupted by me, Emily's eyes immediately turned red. And Connor happened to walk over at just the right moment. He looked at me and, after a long while, slowly spoke. Christina, enough is enough. After the banquet, I waited alone by the roadside for a taxi. Connor's car stopped in front of me, his expression indifferent. Get in. I shook my head, no need, my husband will come to pick me up. Connor scoffed and said, Christina, how much longer are you going to keep pretending? It's one thing to fool others. This River City, who doesn't know that I like you so much I could die for it? With someone like you, who would be willing to marry you? Hurry up and get in the car, and I won't hold you accountable for running back to Jiangqing on your own. When Connor spoke, his tone was not very pleasant. As he saw me still standing there motionless, his brows furrowed, and a hint of disgust appeared on his face. Have you really been kept by someone? Who is so blind? Hearing him say this, I smiled faintly. Mr. Connor, have you ever been kept by someone? Otherwise, how could you think that everyone else is being kept? Only those with a dirty heart will think others are dirty when they look at them. Connor looked as if he had just eaten a fly. He glared at me fiercely. Christina, how did you become like this? Seeing his heartbroken expression, one might think he was truly suffering from deep heartache. But I haven't changed at all. I've always been sharp-tongued since I was little, and for that, my mother scolded me many times. Later, when I went to the He family, my temperament didn't change either. I remember the first time I confronted someone at the He family, Connor was laughing beside me. He said that girls should be strong so that they won't be bullied. It was only later, when Emily appeared, that he began to find me lacking in grace and gentleness. So I simply reined in all my sharpness. Now, I am no longer willing to change for him. Emily sat quietly in the passenger seat, listening to Connor and me talk. Seeing Connor like this, a hint of a smile flickered in her eyes. Then, the understanding one advised, Christina, how can you speak to Connor like that? He is also doing this for your own good. Shut up. I rolled my eyes and looked at her speechlessly. Not speaking, no one will treat you as a mute. I'm talking to Connor, what does it have to do with you? Emily was choked by me, her expression awkward. At that moment, a pink sports car pulled up behind me and honked its horn. Without even glancing at the two people, I strode over and got into the car. Amidst the roar of the engine, I could still hear Connor's furious shouts. One night, I received a call from an unknown number. I answered, and found that the caller was Will, Connor's good friend. Christina, what are you doing? I turned off the music. It's prenatal education. Is prenatal education the kind of prenatal education I'm thinking of? I nodded, yeah, it should be. Will, stop joking, you and Connor haven't seen each other for so long, how could you possibly be pregnant? I replied softly, the child is not his. Will raised his voice, no way, you really got married and you're pregnant? I retorted, what, can't I get married and have a baby? No. It's just that you and Connor have always been engaged, and you've always liked him. How could you suddenly get married? You must be lying, right? Hearing this, I laughed. Why does it seem like I'm trying to deceive? Marriage is a significant matter, how could I possibly use something like this to trick anyone? Really getting married? I paused for a moment. I'll invite you to the wedding when it happens. As soon as the words fell, a burst of noisy sounds came from the other end. Then, the call was disconnected. I didn't take it to heart either. 9 out of 10 of Connor's friends thought I wasn't good enough for him, even when Connor treated me the best. As soon as Emily appeared, they looked down on me even more. I heard them speak ill of me many times. A little while later, another call came in. It was from Connor. Upon answering the phone, I hadn't even had a chance to speak when the voice on the other end said, "Christina, go get rid of the child." I just find it a bit funny. Are you okay? Connor's voice grew even angrier. Christina, I told you to go get rid of the baby. His voice was loud enough to carry far even without a microphone. I moved the phone away from my ear and said coldly, if you have nothing else, then I'm hanging up. I just said, you fucking don't understand, do you? Where are you now? Having known Connor for so many years, I've seen him lose his temper countless times. So, hearing his roar of anger, I felt no stir within. The voice on the other end of the phone continued to press for answers. Suddenly, someone pulled the phone away from behind me. Then, I heard Jason's deep, magnetic voice. Christina is going to sleep now, let's talk about it another day. After saying this, he hung up the phone without waiting for the other person to respond. I turned my head and happened to meet a pair of smiling eyes. He lifted me up around the waist, and I wrapped my arms around his neck. In my breath, I could still smell the scent of the shower gel on him, the peach fragrance that I loved the most. I gently nudged him, and his laughter echoed above me. It seems I need to put in more effort, otherwise, all your prenatal education will be in vain. I also started to laugh, I'm just talking nonsense. Jason leaned down and kissed my lips, murmuring, it won't be long now. 3 days later, I returned to the He family. Jason and I went to see Grandpa He. It was he who brought me back to the He family all those years ago, and for all these years, he has treated me like a beloved granddaughter. However, in recent years, his health has greatly declined, and he has often been abroad for treatment. This time he returned to the country to celebrate his 80th birthday, and it is said that after the celebration, he will go abroad again to continue his recovery. After meeting Grandpa He, Jason received a phone call and went to the backyard, while I looked for him standing in the corner. I thought you wouldn't come back. I turned my head to look at Connor, who had somehow walked up behind me. He was looking at me with a gloomy expression. I ignored his expression and smiled, it's Grandpa's birthday, of course I'm coming back. By the way, I'll bring my husband to meet him. Connor looked at me coldly, what, do you have new tricks up your sleeve? Have you been thinking every day in the countryside about how to infuriate me when you come back? Let me tell you, stop dreaming, I will never marry you. I'll tell Grandpa right away to break off our engagement. Speaking of which, he glanced at my belly. Just get out of the He family with the wild child in your womb. I never want to see you again. As soon as the words fell, a voice as warm and gentle as jade came through. Oh? Young master, what great authority you have. I didn't even know that the He family was under your command. Connor's body stiffened as he turned to look at the newcomer. Uncle. Jason walked over to me, took my hand, and looked at the big nephew in front of us. I wouldn't dare to be your uncle, you've even dared to drive your aunt away. Connor's face turned pale. His gaze was fixed tightly on the hands that Jason and I were holding, and he spoke with a slight stutter. You say she is my aunt by marriage? Christina, and you? Jason glanced at him lightly, his voice turning a bit cold. She's your aunt by marriage, and you just call her by her name like that? Connor's face was ashen. But soon he returned to his usual self. Even during the later family banquet, he maintained his usual demeanor, as if everything that had just happened did not concern him at all. The birthday banquet was over. Jason went to drive, while I stood at the door waiting for him. In the pause of waiting, Connor suddenly appeared and pulled me into a secluded corner. He looked at me with icy eyes, gritting his teeth as he said, "Christina, you did this on purpose, didn't you? You and Uncle are putting on a show for me, aren't you?" I looked at him. "You're overthinking it. If it were acting, I wouldn't have come here with him." After all, back then, because of Connor's parents' divorce, the two families had a very unpleasant fallout. If it weren't for me, Jason wouldn't have come here on his own. Moreover, Grandpa, he is really good to me. No matter what, I would never deceive him. Connor had always known about these things, he was just too angry to think clearly now. He let out a cold laugh. "So you're doing this to get back at me, right? To take revenge for how I left you in the countryside, for Emily. Christina, I told you, as long as you behave, you will become my wife. Look at what you're doing now." Looking into his crimson eyes, I suddenly thought of the day Emily first arrived at the He family. Connor promised me that even if there were 10,000 Emilys, none could compare to me. He said I would always be his little princess, the one he loves the most. But later, he blamed me time and again for Emily, and in the end, he even hit me. I still remember the crisp sound of the jade bracelet falling to the ground, as if my heart had shattered into countless pieces with a thud. I turned my gaze away and looked at the flowers blooming vibrantly not far away. "Connor, from the moment you shielded Emily behind you, you should have known that we have no future. I, Christina, am not a magnanimous person, I cannot let go of past grievances. So between us, it's like that shattered jade bracelet, impossible to return to the way things were. Now that Jason and I are married, and you have Emily by your side, let's each be well." A complex expression flashed across Connor's face. He was silent for a moment and said, "Christina, are you really that heartless? I do have feelings for you, really, I just feel sorry for Emily, both her parents are gone." His voice trembled slightly, as if he were trying to control his emotions. Hearing this, I could only scoff with a sneer. Emily, is pitiful for having lost her mom and dad, but what about me? I lost my parents when I was 5, and at 10, my only companion, my grandfather, also passed away. Am I not pitiable? How biased must a person be to say something like that? If he truly cared for me, how could he have left me in the countryside for 3 years, without a word or concern? I looked at him and softly asked, "Connor, do you remember why I came to the He family?" Connor's body stiffened, and then his face turned pale. He opened his mouth, wanting to explain, but in the end, he said nothing. I didn't see his expression, I just rolled up my sleeves to show him the scar on my hand. "You may not know this, but when you first sent me to the countryside, I fell into depression and attempted suicide several times. So many times, I thought I couldn't go on living. But fortunately, in the end, I persevered and met someone who truly loves me." Just then, not far away, the car lights flickered. It was Jason. He had arrived, so I took my leave first. He lowered his head in silence. I broke free from his tight grip and turned to leave. It was only after the bus had traveled a long distance that I received a message from Connor. "Christina, you said you would only marry me in this lifetime." Yes, I did say that. When I loved Connor the most. At that time, I thought I would definitely marry Connor in the future. I believed that Connor would only love me in this lifetime. So I spoke those words with unwavering certainty. But now, I have gone back on my word. Because it was you who turned away first, Connor. I didn't reply to the message and casually tossed my phone into the back seat. Jason glanced at me and asked, "Is it that kid Connor?" I nodded gently, That kid has really been out of line these years, thinking everything belongs to him. It will be fine once he figures it out." Hearing this, I smiled and looked at him. "What's wrong? Aren't you jealous at all? This guy is not a generous person, He previously forced me to throw away everything I brought from the He family to the countryside. Jason didn't say a word, but soon found a secluded spot to park. He bit my lip while saying in a harsh tone, "Who told me to love you? Then I have to accept everything about your past. Besides, you are my wife now, and I won't let you get lost." I smiled and kissed him back. Not only would he not lose me, but I also would not lose him. After that day, I never saw Connor again. Jessica asked me to go shopping, and while walking, she couldn't help but complain about Connor. "Connor is just a lunatic, not quite right in the head." Hearing Pierce say that on the night of my engagement, he suddenly smashed the bar to pieces for no reason. "If you didn't know better, you'd think he had a crush on me." As she spoke, she couldn't help but laugh. After laughing, she continued to speak. "Well, it's been a while since I've seen Connor. A couple of days ago, Emily even asked Pierce if he had seen him. Where do you think this guy has gone?" I slid my fingers over a row of clothes, who knows? That night, I was blocked at my doorstep. Connor, reeking of alcohol, was standing in my way. "Christina, I had a nightmare yesterday, dreaming that you got married to my uncle. You told me that all of this is fake, right? You said you would marry me, you said you would only marry me, how could you possibly marry someone else?" I looked at him and took out my phone to call Jason. Just as the call connected, he suddenly snatched the phone away and smashed it hard onto the ground. He had red eyes. "Christina, you say it. Say that you only love me, say that you will only marry me, say it. You told me that you and Jason are both liars, that it's all fake, right?" He slowly knelt before me, his tone humble, as if he were begging. This is a Connor I have never seen before. He looks as if he truly loves me. If it were in the past, I would definitely hold the person in my arms and cry my heart out. But now, everything has changed and people are no longer the same. I looked down at him from a height, my tone indifferent. "Connor, if you want to play the role of the passionate lover, then please go find Emily. I don't need that." He lowered his head, and I couldn't see his expression. After a long while, he slowly spoke. "Christina, I already know I was wrong. I went to the countryside these past few days, and saw all the traces of your life over the past 3 years. I met the psychologist you used to see. I already know I was wrong. If possible, could you give me a chance to make up for the hurt I've caused you all these years? I can take you to a place where no one knows, just the two of us together. I will make you the happiest woman in the world. Is it good, Christina?" "No," I said, "it's over between us, just like my jade bracelet, which has long been broken." After saying that, I stepped past him, ready to leave. He held my hand, saying nothing, but I could feel his hand trembling slightly. But I ignored it and just started to smile as I watched the person walking slowly towards me. Jason approached with a stern expression, first pulling away the hand that was gripping my arm. Then, pull the person on the ground up. With each punch, the fists meet flesh. He only stopped when he had beaten the person to a pulp, leaving them bruised and battered. "Connor, for the sake of you being my nephew, I'll let you off this time. But, never let me see you again, and don't look for my wife anymore. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude." After saying that, he wiped his hands clean and came over to take my hand, leading me home. Connor lay on the ground like a discarded rag, motionless. That day, Jason had been bothering me for a long time. And Connor hasn't come to find me since. The next meeting was at a seminar. He looked gaunt, and Emily was by his side. I politely nodded to them and then went to find my seat on my own. When I left, I could feel his gaze lingering on me. During the intermission, Emily found me. "Christina, since you've already married Connor's uncle, could you please keep your distance from him and stop looking for opportunities to get close to him, okay? Do you know how he has been spending these days? He has even given up his life for you." I raised my gaze to meet hers. Still so self-righteous, so utterly annoying. I said coldly, "Emily, what he wants to do has nothing to do with me. And this time the seminar was organized by the hosts who invited me. I don't have such great influence to sway the organizers. This seminar is led by government departments, and those who can participate are individuals who have made contributions in various fields. As long as Emily isn't foolish, she should know that I couldn't have been invited here casually. Hearing this, her expression froze for a moment, clearly realizing this matter as well. She hesitated for a moment, wanting to continue speaking. But I'm not Connor, I won't indulge her. I continued directly, moreover, I am Connor's aunt by marriage, and since you are friends with him, that makes me your elder as well. Has no one taught you how to speak to your elders? Upon hearing this, her expression stiffened. She wasn't unaware, she had just grown accustomed to it. I have become accustomed to being placed in a low position, which is why my words are so unrestrained. She bit her lip, hesitating for a long time, but still didn't call me aunt. And after seeing my smile, she gritted her teeth and said, Christina, what are you so proud of? Isn't it just because of Jason that you could come here? What's so great about that? Don't think I don't know, you're going to marry Jason, isn't it just because he has more money? I didn't respond, just looked behind her. Connor, you came at the right time, quickly take her away. Emily was startled and turned to see Connor behind her, his face dark with anger. She panicked and opened her mouth to explain. But before she could say anything, Connor forcefully pulled her towards the entrance of the venue. Seeing her leave, I felt a twinge of regret, regretting that she hadn't seen me being invited on stage to speak as an outstanding representative. So, she doesn't know that I don't need to rely on a man. I am my own support. In the second half of the seminar, I was invited by the organizers to speak on stage. From the moment I stood up, I could feel a gaze fixed intently on me, lingering until I reached the front of the stage and stood still. I didn't seek out that gaze, but instead began my speech. Hello everyone, I am Christina. As the last sentence fell, warm applause erupted in the venue. I smiled lightly and looked down at the audience, then inadvertently locked eyes with Connor for a moment. There was something in his gaze that I had never seen before, awe and admiration. I pretended not to see and silently turned my head. Until the meeting ended, Connor walked against the crowd and came up to me. He looked at me for a long time before slowly speaking. Christina, I didn't expect you to be this impressive now. I looked at him, I have to thank you for this. 3 years ago, I was sent to the countryside, all alone and without support. In the first year, I fell into depression and even attempted suicide. The last time I was hospitalized for suicide, the patient in the bed next to mine loved to make videos. She said she wanted to record all the beautiful things in the world, so that her time in this world wouldn't be in vain. At that moment, I suddenly understood and began to learn to record all the beautiful things around me with video. Next, through the video, I learned about many wonderful intangible cultural heritages. They are also striving not to be forgotten, striving to make the most of their remaining warmth. It's just like me, as I strive to find the meaning of my future. Thus, intangible cultural heritage began to appear in my videos. At first, I simply hoped that they would not be forgotten, because forgetting is equivalent to disappearing. To my surprise, after the video was released, it garnered a lot of attention, and I became a somewhat notable video blogger. A year later, I met Jason. He was ill and returned to the countryside to recuperate. At that time, I was still living in the old He family residence, and I would take some daily footage every day. He suddenly appeared in front of my camera while I was shooting a scene in heavy snow. Noticing my lens, he not only didn't hide but instead broke into a smile. He said, "You must be the video blogger Evening Breeze. My name is Jason, and I've wanted to meet you for a long time." Later, he accompanied me as we traveled far and wide, experiencing many intangible cultural heritages. During the production of A Phoenix Crown in one episode, he proposed to me. Thinking of the past, I smiled faintly. Seeing my smile, Connor was momentarily lost in thought. His expression was somewhat nostalgic, yet also a bit sorrowful. I didn't know what he was thinking of, nor did I want to know. I tucked my wind-tousled hair behind my ear and was about to leave. As I was about to walk past him and leave, he suddenly reached out his hand in front of me. I instinctively took a step back, and only after standing still did I see clearly what he was holding in his hand. It is a jade bracelet. It resembles the one left by my parents, by 70%. He said, "This jade bracelet is my compensation to you. Don't you think it looks a lot like yours?" His tone was still filled with anticipation. But my attention was not on the jade bracelet, but on the scar on his wrist. A scar that looked very much like mine. He noticed my gaze and gave a faint smile. I thought, after all, there is something we both share. I looked up at him. Then, I sighed. "Connor, you should know. Between us, it ended 3 years ago. What you are doing now is nothing but a disturbance to me. No matter how much you refuse to believe it, I am already married. So, please don't appear in front of me again, okay?" With every word I spoke, Connor's face turned a shade paler. After I finished, I didn't look at him and simply brushed past him. Behind me, there was the sound of a jade bracelet falling to the ground, along with muffled sobs. After that day, I really never saw Connor again. Even when I went to the He family to visit Grandpa I never encountered him. Even Emily had disappeared. Later I learned that Emily had moved out of the He family, at Connor's insistence. Moreover, Connor and Emily had cut off contact. Emily has been searching everywhere for Connor during this time, but Connor has been avoiding her all along. For this reason, Emily came to find me a few times. However, each time she appeared for just a few minutes, the next moment someone would come to forcibly take her away. I asked Jason, it wasn't him. I originally thought that the days ahead would continue like this. But I never thought that one day I would hear about Connor in this way. His brother called me, his words filled with anger. They said that for more than half a year, he had been drinking heavily, hardly ever sober. But 2 days ago, he woke up in the middle of the night suddenly shouting that he wanted to find me. As a result, he got into a car accident. The person was saved, but their leg was severely injured, and they may never be able to stand up again. We all tried to stop him, but we still couldn't. Will said hoarsely, he cried and said, "Tomorrow is your birthday, he has already missed it for 3 years, he can't miss it again this year." He cried so sadly that it made us feel upset as well. If we had known earlier, we shouldn't have let him do as he pleased. "Christina, he did it all for you." I leaned against Jason's embrace, touched my belly, and silently hung up the phone. Jason leaned down and kissed my hair, comforting me, "It's not your fault." "I know. I just feel it's a bit absurd. When a person is by your side, you don't know how to cherish them. When they leave, why pretend to be deeply sentimental? Late-coming affection is worth less than grass. I have always understood this principle. That's why I have never gone to see him even once." Late at night, half a month later, I received a message. "Connor sent this. Christina, I'm sorry." I didn't reply. Because the story between him and me had long since come to an end. From then on, spring and autumn had no connection, and the wind and moon were unrelated.